To know more details about this new rule and the ministerial resolution that has been issued by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Planning, we have a very special guest joining today who's going to tell all the details that one needs to know. So let's welcome Mr. Fahad Al Ismaili, who's the CEO of Tibiaan Properties. Thank you so much, Mr. Fahad, for joining us in today's episode.
Thank you very much for inviting me to take part of this indeed very special topic, which I think matters to a lot of people who are residing in Oman.
Right. So, Mr. Fahad, starting with the topic, what do you think about the ease in this decision that has been issued last week?
This ministerial decision number 357 over 2020, which has been issued by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Planning nearly 10 days ago, it was a so long awaited rule to be developed and to be practiced here in the local market of real estate in Oman. I think the ease of the regulation is going to help diversifying the economy. It will help also in attracting foreign investments, and also it will help in lowering the migration of investments outside Oman and creating more appetite for the real estate investment in Oman. The rule came out as a usufruct right. It's not a freehold, but it contains many restrictions and also many things which are making it more regulated. And it's a new rule, and it's a new step towards foreign investment in Oman in real estate. Therefore, the government is taking it very mildly, maybe in the beginning, and hopefully it will develop further as we see results in the near future.
Right, Mr. Fahad. So, with this rule, what kind of property can now be owned by the expatriate living in the Sultanate?
Yeah, any expat who has completed 2 years of residency in Oman can apply to buy in any of those eligible units. These units are units which are in selected areas and selected zones. I mean, the ministry, when they have allocated those zones, they made sure that it doesn't have any impact on the demographical aspects of the community and also the national communities whom are living in purely residential areas, because that is very important also to have a very good mixed urban planning. Therefore, the eligible zones are already selected and allocated, and the units are restricted in the beginning to residential units, which are not less than 2-bedroom apartments. They should be 2-bedroom apartments and more, and in high-rise building or multi-story building, which are containing not less than 4 stories of residential units.
I was just going to ask you in detail about this plan, Mr. Fahad, that what kind of property and what are the restrictions. I'm so glad you answered to that question. Now, talking about the eligible zones you just mentioned, what are these eligible zones? What I'm understanding that people, I mean the expatriates living in Muscat, are not free to hold or own any property in the whole capital. You just mentioned there are eligible zones. Could you tell us what eligible zones you're talking about?
Well, just to correct the statement a little bit, or the question a little bit, expatriates and non-Omanis, they can own real estate even previously, before this ministerial decision came out, in the ITC projects, the integrated tourism projects. And over there, they're getting a freehold status. It is not a usufruct beneficiary agreement. It is a freehold status where they are allowed also to get residency visa to live in Oman with regards to their real estate investment. Now, the recent ministerial decision is a user-fract beneficiary agreement which extends to 50 years and could be extended further to 99 years. And this do not make the foreign investor eligible to obtain a residency visa for himself and his family yet. But maybe as things develops further and it matures more, I think maybe some other factors will be introduced into this decision. The locations and the zones which are allocated right now, they are all mentioned in the Ministry of Housing and Urban Planning pages in the official social media pages of the ministry. I advise everyone to always refer to those genuine information from the ministry account.
Right. Mr. Fahad, thank you for the clarification. Now, you're saying that previously, of course, expats could own property in the ITC zones. During that time, were they eligible for the residency permit you just mentioned? Were they allowed previously for the residency permit? Because you're saying, as of now, there has been no rule stating about the residency permit. Am I correct?
Yes, I mean the freehold projects which are located in the ITC zones, the integrated tourism complexes. Those units in these projects grant the expat or the foreign investor a residency visa in Oman for the purchase of their real estate unit, and that residency visa also applies to themselves and their first grade family members. The user-fract beneficiary law, which came out recently, in the beginning, right now, the law did not allow residency visa with the beneficiary contract, which is obtained or which is bought by the expat or the foreign investor.
Okay, perfect. So in terms like if, for example, I am planning to buy the own a flat here, hopefully, inshallah, will I be getting the residency for now besides my employment residency?
If you're buying in the ITC, you are allowed to get a residency visa. But if you're going to buy in the user-fract beneficiary properties, then you're not allowed at the moment. But
Okay.
as I said, the ministry has kept that door open and that room available maybe for the future.
Right.
Also, it is very important to mention that the buildings and the properties which expats are allowed to buy on user-fract beneficiary agreements, the buildings has to be fully completed, and the deedship of every unit should be distributed and subdivided already. And of course, prior to deciding to buy, they should obtain also an NOC from the Ministry of Housing to buy or to enter into this user-fract agreement. Now, every building, only 40% of every building is allowed for foreign investment. And out of that 40% of every building, only 20% of that 40% is allowed for one nationality.
Okay, I got that. So, Mr. Fahad, help me understand, like, if I'm getting a property and I'm still under this law and I don't have a residency, how do I go about, exiting and entering to the Sultanate? Will there be a letter issued under my name that this person has this property here so she can be allowed to leave and depart without any visa?
As I said, the law stated that whoever wants to buy in these user-fract beneficiary agreements should be a resident in Oman for not less than 2 years. So whoever it is should be a resident of in Oman. That is the first step towards opening the door in order to be eligible to buy a unit in those properties. Now, let's say, for example, also the law allowed people who were affected by their jobs or resigned or lost their job or decided to leave the country because the law do not permit them to resell their unit until 4 years is passed. Therefore, they can always ask for an exemption from the ministry, and the Minister of Housing and Urban Planning will be the one to issue that exemption if the expat has lost his job or decided to leave the country. Therefore, he can resell his unit in the market. And of course, as I said, this purchase on a user-fract beneficiary agreement is not related to obtaining a visa. So there is no connection between buying here in the user-fract beneficiary agreement and the visa status.
Right. Mr. Fahad, we have a question from one of our viewers right now. He's asking if you could elaborate on the 20% occupancy by a single nationality.
Yeah, it is not an occupancy, it is ownership or beneficiary ownership. Uh, let's say, for example, if a building contains 100 apartments, therefore 40% of that 100 apartments could be sold to non-Omani or non-GCC nationals. So that is 40 apartments. Now, out of that 40 apartments, 20% only could be sold to a single nationality. So 8 units only can go to single nationality according to this example.
Okay, thank you so much. Another question, Mr. Fahad, we have your way right now, is about the payment plan and the financing if Tibiaan Properties is offering any kind of ease in terms of buying a property.
Well, at the moment, Tibiaan Properties do not have any user-fract beneficiary products, but hopefully maybe we will be introducing some in the future. At the moment, we do have a purely freehold project at Muscat Hills. It's called the Bolivar Tower, and we are offering very good rates and also mode of payments. And we are also going to introduce and launch during the November next month a very massive offers on this project in particular. And this project also allows any nationality to buy in any percentages, and it also makes it eligible for anyone who buys to obtain a residency status for himself and his first-grade family.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fahad, for answering those questions. We'll be taking more questions in between, but I'll just continue with my questions. Now, besides this 2 years of being in the Sultanate, besides the residency and the number of rooms that you mentioned, are there any other requirements to purchase a flat here in the Muscat?
Well, see, the person who wants to buy an apartment will definitely need to apply for an NOC from Ministry of Housing. Now, that NOC checklist is something to do with the ministry, and yeah, I'm sure there will be some sort of screening and some sort of due diligence on the history of the person who wants to buy. And I think yeah, that will be the major step. After obtaining that NOC, the investor can complete continuing to purchase the unit. However, I highly recommend and I will advise all investors to always seek solid and authentic information and news from the real source, which is Ministry of Housing and Urban Planning. At the same time, they should always read the articles and do not jump into any deals which are very, very attractive just because they are attractive. They should always make sure that everything is genuine, everything is reliable, and everything is according to the books.
Mr. Fahad, we have one more question from a viewer named Sayed Feroz. He's asking that, will these units can be rented if owner wanted? So I believe he thinks like if an expat can purchase the property, can he further rent it out?
Well, in the of course, in the freehold, you can always rent it out immediately. In the user-fract beneficiary agreement, the purchaser cannot resell or rent it out until 4 years is passed. So after 4 years from the time of purchase, you can rent it out or you can resell.
Okay, so the time period
Of
is of
course,
4 years.
it's a 4 years, yes. And also, there is a cap where, or a minimum ticket size of 45,000 riyals per unit in Muscat and 35,000 riyals per unit outside Muscat.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Fahad. Now, the ministry has also said that the flat owners need to sell their homes before leaving the country. If so, if that is the case, then how can one go about doing it?
Well, as I said, if I mean, I don't recall the article. Do you have the article number of this where the
I
ministry says
don't
that the
have
flat
the article number, unfortunately, right now with me,
owner?
but
Because
it was
I don't recall. But as we said, that the ownership of the usufruct beneficiary agreement is not related to the visa. So when someone leaves the country, definitely, if someone leaves the country for good, they will have to cancel their visa while leaving. So how can they keep the property without so? And if 4 years has passed, then they can easily resell it in the market. And as I said, if anyone had to leave the country for any circumstance, if he lost his job, if he had to leave the country for any other reason, he can always ask for an exemption from the Ministry of Housing, and Ministry of Housing will look into that and will give him an exemption to sell the unit before the end of the 4 years.
okay. I think we're getting a lot of questions asking about the visa, the type of visa, Mr. Fahad. There is another questions from Mark. He's asking, what visa can you give to expat once expat buy a property? So I think, like you just mentioned, there are two categories, right? One is ITC, the freehold, where you get the residency, and the other one, that the new decision that came in, the visa hasn't been really put it out it hasn't been penned out whether you're getting residency or not. So if I'm not wrong,
Yes,
this is the answer to his question. I'm answering on your behalf now.
yeah, but only, you're completely right. And the just to add to that, when you buy a property in a freehold ITC project, the visa is for yourself and your first grade family members. So basically, you get visa for the family, first grade.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so now talking about Tibiaan properties, we know Tibiaan properties has amazing projects in the Sultanate. What properties are ready for the expats right now to get ownership of?
Well, we have ready and we just completed 2 months ago, and handing over already was completed to some buyers, and people started living in the Bolivar Tower at Muscat Hills. The Bolivar Tower at Muscat Hills is an ITC project that gives a freehold ownership and also a residency status. It contains 176 apartments. The project is built on very high-end grade. It has all the amenities that you can think about: swimming pool, basement parkings, gymnasium. It is located on the entrance of the boulevard at Muscat Hills, where nice coffee shops are there, and it's purely it's a very quiet and nice lifestyle destination. And the most important part, that it is a completely freehold. You can rent it out. It could be an investment purchase. You can live in it. You can resell and make some money by making advantage of our offer, which we are going to launch it within a week, inshallah.
I think, Mr. Fahad, we have to come down to this project to show our viewers what exactly you're talking about, so they get a first-hand experience, and this way they can actually decide, investing into this property as well.
You're most welcome, and we would like to host you there, of course, by taking all the distance and social distancing and the healthcare measures, inshallah.
Yes,
But you're most
absolutely.
welcome, and
Thank you so much, Mr. Fahad. So, now talking about this rule, the relaxation that has been issued through this ministerial decision. Do you think it's going to have a positive impact on the economy of the Sultanate and is actually going to boost the real estate sector?
Yes, I mean, this rule is, or this decision is very beautiful, and it's going to support the real estate sector in Oman, and it's going to increase the opportunities also for developers to have a bigger portion of the market, and also to cater into a larger scale of the audience. However, as I said, the rule is still on its maybe testing mode. We will be more than happy to receive quarterly or every some sort of every period reports and statistics from the Ministry of Housing and Urban Planning to understand the amount of appetite which is there in the market, how many units are sold or bought by expatriates every quarter, let's say, for example. I think also there'll be huge opportunities for local Omani SMEs to also introduce some of the services of marketing, graphic designs, videography, and also some small subcontractors can also get more jobs, building materials. I think this rule is going to help in boosting the real estate capacity to accommodate more supply and demand, to accommodate more transactions and flow of cash into the local real estate market. So overall, this is a long awaited. I mean, we've been in discussion with the authorities. We've been in discussion with some of the senior officials in the government sector for the last 3 to 5 years, talking about this and how to plan it and how to look into it from different aspects. And for sure, it will have to develop and to add value as we go into the and as we dive more into this user-friendly beneficiary. You never know, maybe by time it will convert from a usufruct to a freehold. Everything is possible, and everything will be built on very solid data mining, and also reaction of the market. So the more we see good reaction, I think the more this will be looked at carefully by the authorities.
You know, Mr. Fahad, we're still in the middle of the pandemic, not just in the Sultanate, but globally. In fact, some of the countries are actually facing the second wave, but alhamdulillah, right now in the Sultanate, things seems to be still under control. So during this time period, do you think people would be a little skeptical about investing into property? Do you recommend them? Do you suggest them? Or what is your opinion in terms of people who would like to invest during this time period?
Well, the pandemic is something which is happening globally. We cannot deny it. We have to live with it, and we have to accept it, and we have to work together and join hands between the people, the health sector, and all the other sectors to reduce the effects and mitigate all the issues or the negative factors that this pandemic can bring into the economy. With regards to real estate, I think real estate is something that it's in continuous need. It's like food and beverage. People cannot live without having to eat or drink. Also, at the same time, people cannot live without having a shelter. Therefore, investing in real estate is something, it's a long-term investment. It's not a short-term thing. It could be a lifetime decision. It could be a one-time practice in a normal human lifetime. So I don't think that real estate is going to stop, or the demand on real estate is going to vanish. Yes, the demand might be less, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to vanish. And if we come to Oman and look into the Sultanate of Oman as an investment destination for real estate, I think the yielding percentages in Oman is really good compared to many other places around the globe. You can recoup your investment in a very good time frame, and the rules and regulations are in continuous improvement, and the government is also adapting to change, and also looking at ways. We have, Vision 2040 for Oman. It is a very big vision, and it is purely, or a major part of it is falling under the diversification of the economy, of the income, and I think that all will lead to a proper and stronger purchasing power, where demand will increase, and it will always be healthy for the real estate market future in Oman.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Fahad, for joining us in today's episode. It was indeed a very informative session with them, and I hope all the viewers have got all the answers that they were looking forward to.
Thank you very much, and I hope I was able to deliver some of the important factors that any real estate seeker should really look into carefully before entering into any purchase in the market.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fahad. We'll definitely be visiting Boulevard Tower next week to show what you spoke about the property and how people can actually go about purchasing it.
You're most welcome, and hope to see you soon, Madiha.
Thank you so much once again.
Bye bye.